So let's have a look at some of the top news now that's happening from all around the world. Some of these are older extracts to really pull out what's been happening and the impacts at the time. So the first thing is we're seeing central banks are printing more money than we've ever seen in history, and it's a real risk of hyperinflation. I don't know if anyone has followed me on social pages, but the more money you put into the market, the more risk if the demand isn't there and the supply goes through the roof. Based on basic supply and demand laws, it means the value will diminish, and we'll start to see that play out, which is really scary. But we're seeing the levels of $2 trillion being pumped in with the stimulus package, which I'll talk about now, in the US. So to try and help with the coronavirus, which this is all a bit of a facade, because the truth is the financial industries were really heavily impacted way before the coronavirus even set in. So what we're seeing and hearing now is money is just being flooded into the markets at a rate that we've never seen before, printing $1 trillion a day in the US. They started off with 1.5 trillion, then 700 billion, now $1 trillion a day. Then they do a $2 trillion stimulus package to try and re-inject and reignite what's happening. It's quite a serious thing that we're seeing. And the effect of this is going to be pretty catastrophic. This was an interview that happened, which my jaw hit the table when I heard it, from Neil Kashkari here, he's the head of Federal Reserve in the US, and his line was literally, we've got infinite money and we will continue to print, and that's his answer to this. It's the global CEO of JP Morgan turned around and said this is a failed experiment. They've done it in the past, it hasn't worked, but they continue to do the same things, and it's really pretty catastrophic to see what's going to roll out with this. So something that I'm staying up to speed with here is the coronavirus and what's happening with that, and staying at the forefront, seeing the cases are going through the roof. That was slightly older, the timing's out of that, but I know it's now around the million mark, which is just colossal, the spread, and that's what this is about. People are comparing it to other diseases, but when they compare it, they're not looking at the scale of growth that we're going through right now, and that's the big thing that we need to think about. How long is this going to go on for? How long? We haven't even come close to the vaccine side of things, so how far are we away from that? How long does that take to deploy and then start to normalize the economies? Because the truth is here, if a business cannot no longer operate and they've got expenses, I know the stimulus package is set to try and help this, but the reality is a lot of businesses are going to go under right now, and we want to be at the forefront to understand how can we minimize our risk but also capitalize. So one of my favorite posts I saw a while back was we're running out of ammo, and what that was referring to was we're running out of ammo with the interest rates. There's three core things that you typically do: print money, reduce interest rates, and then give free money away. And we've printed more money than we've ever seen in history. We've cut interest rates to zero. In most countries, especially around Europe, they're actually in negative, which means it costs you money to keep your money in the bank. And now we're seeing that we're giving away money as well, which is just the next level. So when we start to look at, okay, where are the layoffs and what areas are being impacted by this? Sephora, as you can see, is a business there, but airlines and transport, airports, arts and culture, finance, hotels. It is just incredible the amount of people and areas and businesses that are being laid off right now due to what's happening here. So it's quite scary, but even before this was happening, the banks were starting to lay off 60,000 jobs. HSBC cut down 20,000, Deutsche Bank cut down 10,000. Just quite incredible. So we're seeing rising unemployment claims go through the roof. So there was over 3 million workers applied in a week, which is higher levels than we've ever seen in history before. So unemployment levels it's all tied in, and that's what we have to understand. This is all interconnected, and that's the real big problem. The root cause of this is an overinflated financial system already. The reason that people are in such struggle is because the banks allow people to over leverage themselves, and through over leveraging themselves, they've now put themselves in a position of, if we don't have any cash, we can't afford to pay for all the houses that we've got, the car that we've got on finance, the phone that we've got on finances. It's it's pretty severe what's happening, and that's a big concern to me with the whole financial system that we operate within right now. So recently we saw the Dow Jones have the biggest fall in history from its peak to the lowest point, which was 18,500 points, all the way up from 30,000. It was a 37% drop. And that is definitely in the recession zone. 30% or more is definitely recession level there. But it was the time frame that it happened. And they compare it to the drops that we've seen in history, and this is definitely one of the biggest that we've seen before. So big concern, and the same as the ASX and every single market around the world, the drops that we had was something that we've never experienced in history before in that kind of time frame, which is crazy. So one thing that I do want to share with you, I talk about this at my live events, and when I get people to raise their hands, no one really has heard of this. So the Senate passed a bank bail-in law. So for anyone that doesn't understand what this means, sitting there at home watching this, what a bank bail-in law is the opposite to a bank bail-out, where the government will bail out the bank, so they're secure and protected, and the deposit holders are okay. They've got their insurance with the government. Where a bank bail-in law, which was passed in 2018 on Valentine's Day, believe it or not, which is just incredible when no one's in the house. If anything happens to the bank, they will take your money. So if you've got over a certain amount, I believe in Australia we're guaranteed up to 250k, but if you've got money over that level, then they will freeze your account. They will take some of your money. And you might be sitting there thinking, no, they wouldn't do that. Go and ask Cyprus and what happened over there with the Cypriot bank bail-in laws through 2013, 2014. This is real, and it's happened before, and it will happen again, especially the way that we're moving right now. Why do I find the cash ban situation such an interesting thing? Well, let's say you have over $1 million in your bank account, and you know that 250k of that's secured, and then they turn around and say, right, this is happening within our with our bank right now. Your account's going to get frozen, and you've got a limit of 10k to get out each time. If you do any more than that, it's literally classed as an illegal activity. And now China's followed suit, and different countries around the world. So you're stuck in the system, and you don't effectively own your money. The bank owns your money, which to me is just incredible. If you go and look at a place like Lebanon, if you hold your money in the bank, they will restrict the amount of withdrawals that you can have at any point in time. I think if you've got $10,000 in your account, you're allowed to take out $300 every 2 weeks. How can you even live off of that? I don't understand how they're allowing this. And then you look at India, where they removed the 500,000 rupee denominations overnight, and everyone had to go and get smaller denominations. It's just incredible. And then again, back in Lebanon, they switched from the US dollar to their local pound currency. And people lost 30 to 40% of their money literally overnight. And that is just incredible to see how this is affecting us and how quickly this is changing. So the world is drowning in debt, quite literally. This number is incredible, and it's only growing. We have 322% of the GDP ratio on a global level in debt. So that means that we have more money, we have more debt, than we do actual money in the world. So 250 trillion which is just incredible. How can we? It's through printing and mismanagement, and that's really quite scary. So, looking in the world of cryptocurrencies right now and having a shift around this. So, Federal Reserve. If you've been in the industry a while, you'll know that Jamie Powell wasn't exactly an advocate of cryptocurrencies, and now they're looking to issue their own cryptocurrencies, very similar to JP Morgan and the story around that, which I'll share with you guys. Sweden testing the world's first central bank digital currency. China have already issued it and it's up and running. I think they were doing testing in Shanghai off the top of my head, which is just incredible to see. And to me, it's absolutely a competition around Alipay and WePay as well. We paying through WeChat. So interesting to see what they're doing over there. Hyperinflation in Zimbabwe, I was trying to say. They're looking at cryptocurrencies and implementing that. I know in certain parts of Africa, so in Kenya, a third of Kenyans now have a Bitcoin wallet. So if you're not able to have access to a bank account because you live in a rural location or you don't have the right documents as these banks require, then you can't get access to a bank account. And that is quite a scary thing in itself. Massive developments here. What I love Samsung with their play, what they've decided to do here, as they're not necessarily a front leader in the world of phone and the technology behind it, they've seen an opportunity to integrate a cryptocurrency wallet into all of their new cryptocurrencies, their new phones, sorry, that they're releasing, which is very interesting and quite awesome to see. So what we're looking at on this graph, so this is the price of Bitcoin, the black line up here, and this orange line here shows the amount of Bitcoin wallet addresses that have a positive balance in. So that means more than zero. And you can see it's at the highest point that we've seen in history, which is just incredible. So that was the peak of, if anyone's been in the market a while, the craze around 2017 into 2018 here. Now we're seeing higher levels than we've ever seen in history before. So you can start to see the development, you can start to see the progression, and you can start to understand why there's this transition. You've got full ownership. We'll touch into this in a second, but you've got that full ownership and that control. And for me, that is absolutely essential now. And diversifying, as you can see, is more important than ever in history before because of what's happening in our traditional markets. So that's why we're seeing this number skyrocket through the roof. We're seeing people understand, okay, I need to manage my assets and really be at the forefront of this. So hopefully this gives you a bit of insight into what's actually happening and showing you the truth, but linking the dots and giving you guys clarity behind that and what the repercussions of operating in this way really mean. So thanks for tuning into this, and let's move on to the next section now. And let's move into the next section now. So